Alright, what is up my fellow guitar addicts? Caesar here with Addicted to Guitar, where we celebrate everything guitar. And right now we are celebrating guitar building. And if you've been with us, this is the Stewmac Mini-S Guitar Kit that we've been building. And this is going to be one of the last videos we do on building it and setting it up. But right now, before we get started, look down there. Go ahead, look down there. Are you subscribed? Alright, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, and when you do that, hit the bell, because you're going to want YouTube to let you know when we're putting out new videos. Alright, so this is what we're doing right now. And like I said, this is probably going to be one of the last videos. In the video before this, we basically finished building it. And in this one, we're going to set it up. Okay, so in the setup, the manual tells you how to adjust the truss rod. They give you little 16-inch radius gauge paper cutouts to do the saddles here. And then we adjust the action, and they show you how to adjust the pickup height. We're basically going to do all that, and then most likely in another video, I'll get down and play it, and I'll give you my final review. So in order to do the truss rod, right now we need to tune the strings up. So I've got my tuner right here. And this is going to be tuned an octave above normal A440 that everybody tunes up. Now, when I was reading the reviews about that, a lot of people said that the strings that come with it can't really handle the tension very well, and sometimes they pop, and I can understand that because these strings are not the best strings. Usually when they curl this easy and they're not stiff, they're not usually the best strings. But that being said, I've got strings I can throw on there, and we really just need these strings to last for the setup, and then if it rocks, we can put some nicer strings on there. So these look like 9s, which I can understand maybe that wasn't the best choice. I don't know if a 9-gauge E string is going to handle all that tension, so that makes a lot of sense. But either way, we're going to give it a try. Like I was telling you guys before, the tuners are okay. They're not the best tuners. I'm always afraid when you get to these high strings that it's going to snap. Not that it'll really do too much damage to you, but it's always a little jarring when it snaps on your finger. Alright, so far so good. Let's see if this guy holds. B. D. I'm going to get my hand out of the way. Now when you're tuning a string like this, especially the high E string, I recommend you do it slow. Sometimes you'll pop the string just by going too fast and not giving the string a chance to stretch properly, and you overstretch it in one area versus another, and then it pops on you. And most of the time it pops back here where the ball end is. Alright, so we are tuned up, I would say fairly well. We're going to probably relax this a bunch of times as we do more adjustments on it, so we won't get too hung up with making it perfect. We just want it to be in the ballpark of what we're going to do. Alright, so you guys have watched me tune a guitar for 5 minutes, so let's get to the action here. So the first thing we're going to do is adjust the truss rod. Now right away, I don't know if I'll be able to show you guys in the camera, but this looks like too much relief. There's quite a bit of bow in there. I'm going to see if I can get a good angle for you there. So right away we're going to have to tighten the truss rod. Now on a normal guitar, what you would do is you would hold down about 15, and you would hold down 1, and then you can push like this, and you can see the gap between the 12th fret and the 15th fret, and actually that isn't too bad. So maybe all this extra space might be in the saddle. So either way, when you're adjusting a truss rod, too much relief, which means too much bowing, you would tighten the truss rod and that'll pull the neck back. If the neck is too straight and your strings are not coming off the frets at all when you do that, when you hold down 1 and 15 and you do the tappy tap, then you need to loosen the truss rod. So this one actually just needs to be tightened a little bit, and I think most of what we're going to adjust is going to be here in the saddles. So most of the time I like to relieve a little bit of the tension when you're tightening truss rods. You know, that E string, frankly, I'm not going to touch because I'm a little afraid it's going to pop. But here's the Allen key that came with it, and in true Fender style, it's got the truss rod adjustment right there. And basically, when you're tightening truss rods, you only want to go a quarter turn, an eighth of a turn, because a whole full turn would probably be way too much. And if you end up doing 2 or 3 full turns, you could over tighten the truss rod and pop the truss rod, and then you're kind of screwed because there's really no way to insert a new truss rod into a neck without taking, on this one it looks like they went to the front, so without taking the whole fretboard off, and that would be just ridiculous amount of work. So we're just going to tighten just a little bit there, and I think that's all we're going to need. So let's get her tuned back up. Okay, and then when I do the 1st fret and the 15th fret, and take a look. Alright, so, you know, didn't make too much of an adjustment, but sometimes you need a little time for the truss rod to actually move the wood. But anyway, that actually is, I would say, pretty close to the perfect amount of action. Alright, so that being said, what we're going to do to bring the actual action down is we're going to do it here on the saddles, and at the same time we're going to do the radius on it, because this Fender style, unlike the Tune-o-matic, each string has a height adjustment, which is actually kind of cool because you can adjust each string by itself versus the Gibson Tune-o-matic bridge, which you can only adjust one side or the other. So we're going to go ahead and pull out the 16-inch, and these are fairly inexpensive, and they say the number on there, so this is 16. And what you want to do is very carefully slide it under there, and you use the top. You can use the bottom if you're actually checking here, but when you're doing it back here, you're going to use this part here. So what I'm going to do is adjust the camera real quick, give you guys a better look, and then we'll start doing that. Alright, so I think I got the camera in a better place here. So we'll take a look. We'll pull this guy up. And what you do is you set the guys on the edge, and then you set everybody else accordingly. And if you take a look, right, you can see that this is fairly straight. And right away, everybody from the middle out would have to go a little farther down as you go along. But either way, we want to kind of fix this whole action problem too. So what we'll do is we will set the action on the 2 outside strings, and then with the string gauge we'll be able to set the radius at the same time. So here is the Allen wrench, and here are the adjustments here. Now typically going down, I may not loosen the string because going down is a lot easier. But if you were going to raise the action, I always recommend to release the string tension a little bit, just because the little screws that are in there are real fragile, and you don't want to damage the threads by putting so much tension on there that it's trying to lift up a string that's already to pitch, that's got, you know, tens, maybe 100 pounds of pressure on there. So we're going to go ahead and bring it down. Now with these that have the 2 screws in there, you want to kind of make sure that you're doing each screw symmetrically. Actually, that wrench is too small. You don't want to do one all the way down, then do the other one all the way down. So we'll just bring one edge down, and then the other edge down, and then one edge down, other edge down. Now there are some people who like it to have a little curve, and you can do that also with each string, so you can kind of accentuate the radius of it. Some people dig that. I'm not totally against it if you're into it. I think that works really good on the basses, but those are big strings, so any little movement kind of accentuates all that stuff. And to make it even easier, I've got the string action ruler here. Now typically for string action I like to use the millimeter side, and I like it to be in the points, so I like the action to be anywhere between 1.5 millimeters and 1.75 millimeters. So we are still not there yet at all, so let's keep adjusting. You know what, these actually feel like they have a lot of tension on them, so I'm going to go ahead and loosen them a little bit. And although we haven't quite set the radius, we know that everybody has to come down a little anyway, so we're going to go ahead and start bringing it down and creating that nice curve, because you want the D string and the G string to be the top of the radius curve there. And what's a really good idea is when we put on the real strings that we're going to use, or after we take this guy apart and we really set it up for real, if you've got the time, you take these little screws out and you put a little bit of lubricant in there. I've been using just plain old petroleum jelly. There's some people who use furniture wax, and there's some people who use like the graphite. Either way is good, but that helps actually protect it, because the less effort you have to do to raise and lower it, the less chance you have of stripping the little Allen part on the top there, because once you do that, it's almost impossible to adjust, and then you need to figure out how to get it out and then put in a new one. So it's quite a pain. And we'll take a look. Alright, I think we're getting a little closer there. So this is the parts of this that tends to take a lot of patience, because none of this is really fast, and you end up having to loosen the strings and then tighten the strings and then loosen the strings and then tighten the strings again. So this is something you do when you're calm and you've got time on your hands, you're not frustrated with anything. Okay, let's see where we are now. Alright, so we're getting a little closer here. Actually, this E string is almost perfect. I'm actually going to raise that a little bit, and I'm going to lower this low E string here. Now for sure, if you're going to raise them, I recommend you release the tension quite a bit. Like I said, you don't want to damage these little guys here. I think I just got bitten by a mosquito, but that sucks. Alright, so that being said, we can start to adjust the rest of the guys to continue that gentle curve of the radius. Now I'm all nervous about mosquitoes. Yeah, mosquitoes ruin everything. Nah, mosquitoes are probably good people. Okay, so just to kind of see where I am, I'll take a look at my radius here. And it seems like the middle guys have to kind of come up a little bit. Alright, so just for time purposes, that's pretty close, but as you can see, with the radius gauge underneath there, you take a look and you can kind of see from the middle guys down, how the strings are, whether they're touching the metal or not. So like, this A string's a little high, and so is this one. These three seem to be good. Just bring these two down real quick. Okay, so let's tighten it up to pitch. And then the last thing we're going to do is do some quick intonation. Now typically, intonation is not something that you can really do with one of these clip-on tuners and get it really precise, but we're just going to do something pretty basic. Just so when we start to play it, it's relatively in tune. If you understand what intonation is, intonation just means that you want every pitch that's the same to be in tune. So you want the D string that's open to be the same D that's this D. And unless you adjust the intonation, which is basically adjusting where the saddle breakpoint is forward or backwards, this D will be in tune, but this D will be twice as high up, but it'll be a little sharp or a little flat. And every electric guitar has some sort of adjustment for intonation. Typically, acoustic guitars do not. Typically, acoustic guitars have the one saddle type bridge that's got everything a little staggered, and that's basically how much intonation adjustment you're going to get. Alright, so, oh, there it went. Alright. So, I'm going to put a new string on there, and we'll keep adjusting it. Alright guys, so, I guess everybody was right. That E string does not handle the tension. So I'm going to grab another string and put it on there, and I'll be back. Alright ladies and gentlemen, we are back. I've got a new string on there. I want to say it's like a B string. So it's probably an 11. So I'm hoping it's going to handle the tension a little better. Oof, that's tight. That's what she said. Ah, ha, ha, ha. That phrase works for almost anything. Oh, alright, so no go. So I'll be back with another string. I went ahead and strung up another string off camera because you don't want to just watch me pop strings and jump like a little girl. So this is a G string. So this is, I want to say like a 16, and this guy seems to be handling the tension a little better. I don't know how pleasant a 16 is going to be on the fingers at that amount of tension, but I think the strings that came with it and the string pack that I've been using are not the best strings. I think maybe if you put, like I said, a Diodario 10s on there. Well, that actually is not up to pitch at all. Alright, so let's see if we can bring it up a whole octave here. I just don't know if that's going to fly. We're just going to set it up to. We're just going to set it up to normal. A440. I think maybe the idea, but then that guy's really loose. And we're going to have to go with what they say and bring it up to that double octave pitch. Just don't know if we're going to get a string to hold this kind of tension here. Just going to leave it at D. Give that string a little time to settle in there. Alright, so, like I said, I left this guy at D. So I just don't know if this string and this tuner and everybody's going to hold, especially without that the screw in the back here. Alright, so, that being said, okay. So I think we did a good job of setting the action nice. I think the radius looks nice on that tail piece. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but actually it doesn't look too bad at all. What I may end up having to do is drill the holes for the screws for the tuners, because I don't know if you can see, but that one E tuner is being pulled out of place from the tension of the string there. But real quick, let me just show you guys how we would set the intonation. And this looks like a Phillips screwdriver, so I'm going to grab one of those. Bam. And basically what we're going to do is a pretty basic intonation here. So what you do is you set the open string. That's at perfect pitch. And then when I play the D here, it's coming up a little sharp. So what I'm going to do is actually pull the saddle back a little bit and basically elongating the scale. Now when you do that, you'll have to retune the string a little bit. And let's check it out. Alright, so it's still a little sharp. So again, I'm going to elongate the scale a little bit. Retune the string. We're getting pretty close here. Now typically when you're doing intonation, and you'll see on most guitars when you take a look at the bridges, the standard way it's done is the G string and the E string are usually the farthest forward, and then the ones to the left of it keep stepping down. So it'll be longer, a little shorter, shortest, sorry, the G string will be the shortest, and then the D string will be the longest, and then the A string will be a little shorter, then the E string will be as far back as it can be. So it ends up being 3 steps, da da da, and then it resets, da da da. So that being said, when we do this guy, we can kind of get into the ballpark of where we'll be, because we'll know that the B string saddle will have to be a little farther back. So right away I'm just going to kind of set our little staircase here, and that's going to save us some time. And then right away I know the A string is going to have to come back, this D string will probably want to go out a little bit, and this E string will want to come back a little bit. So let's check the B string. So that's it open, it's in tune. When I check 12th fret, hey, there we go, in tune. So that one's in the perfect place. Let's check the G a little bit. So the G, there's the G, and we'll check the G here. It's actually a little sharp, so we'll bring it back. So again, when the string is sharp, you want to elongate the string. You want to pull the saddle back. And when the string is flat, when you hit the 12th string and it goes flatter than the pitch open, you want to release it a little bit. So that's it. Let's check. Getting better. Yep, all right. We'll check the D. Then here. And actually it's going a little flat. Actually, it's perfect. All right. So the A. And that guy's perfect. And then the E. And the E. So that guy needs to be pulled back quite a bit. All right, getting better. See if we can pull it back a little bit more. We're kind of getting to the point here where we don't have very much space on the screw. We may just let this guy sit around for a little while and adjust to the tension, and then we can always redo the intonation afterwards, but I think that's getting pretty close. Alright guys, so that's how we did the intonation, and like I was telling you before, you can kind of see the stair step, so longest, back a little bit, and then usually the D string is kind of the same or a little farther out, and then it does the stair again. Okay, so we did it. We adjusted the truss rod, and we used 15 in first string, and we wanted a little bit of play there, and actually it came with a good amount of play, so we didn't have to adjust too much. We adjusted the action and the radius. We set the radius arc, we'll call it the radius arc there, with our radius gauge and our Allen keys. And then we adjusted the intonation back here. So that being said, this guy looks like he's ready to play. What I may end up doing is drilling the holes for these tuners and just putting the screws in, because it looks like it's a lot of stress on them and I don't want them to break because they're not screwed in there. That being said, I think it's done. So, some money shot for you. Alright guys, so we're going to leave this video here because it's getting kind of long. So, thanks for watching. Stop what you're doing. Look down there. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you've hit the bell after it. Because we are addicted to guitar, where we are addicted to everything guitar. And if you are a guitar addict like us, you're going to want to be subscribed to this channel. Alright, so please leave a comment. Tell us whatever's on your mind. And thanks for watching.